What is social power? According to Jared Linsky, the author of Power and Privilege, social power theory is a perspective used to figure out who gets what and why. In this video, we will be looking at who gets what and why in Soylent Green, a movie that is set in a dystopian New York City in 2022.
Soylent Green, the miracle food of high-energy plankton gathered from the oceans of the world.
The world is crowded, chaotic, and hot.
Sweet Jesus.
Food and water is scarce. However, the top 1% of the world gets to enjoy life's simple pleasures, suffering none of the consequences. This is evident in Thorne's behavior when he investigates Simonson's apartment.
Most people like to live.
If you say so.
You're a dream. Bourbon.
Son
The plot of Soylent Green follows the story of Robert Thorne, an NYPD detective that lives with his roommate, Solomon Roth, an old college professor that helps Thorne with his resources as a professor. They both live in a harrowing, cramped one-room apartment.
Oh, for...
We follow Thorne as he goes on an investigation of a murder done to a wealthy man named William Simonson.
No, not right. Necessary.
As Thorne investigates, he begins to see things that aren't exactly as they seem, exposing him to the secretive life of the rich and powerful, putting him in great danger. This leads to the climax, which we will talk about shortly. In the sixth scene of the movie, Thorne investigates the scene of the murder, then goes to his workplace and walks by hundreds of people lining up for death benefit money for recently deceased family members. He then speculates with Lieutenant Hatcher that the murder was in fact an assassination, the prime suspect being Simonson's bodyguard Fielding, who was with Cheryl at the time of the murder. Fast forward to the 8th scene. Thorne is questioning Cheryl, and Thorne was told that Simonson confessed his sins at a Catholic church before he died.
He took me to church.
Church? What did he confess?
At the time of the questioning, however, Cheryl set up a party in the murder victim's apartment with the other girls in the building. Did I forget to mention that these women are referred to as furniture?
Furniture?
Yes.
Simonson's? Your furniture.
I've been with him for 4 years.
Furniture.
Yes.
Charles, the superintendent of the building, figures out that the party is happening and comes in, beating the women for not doing their jobs. Thorne steps in and stops Charles from hurting them and sends Charles and the girls away.
Get the hell out of here.
Okay, bet.
You gotta ask, like, let's do it. I'm excited.
Alright, so what do you think?
I see that women are looked at as furniture, like property, by the wealthy. The girls are okay with it because you know it's their natural instinct. If we were all to go back 2,000 years, like, women would be okay with being looked at as furniture because they are a part of the wealthier group. It's social status for a woman. And then the men, I don't know enough about the men yet. I don't know, do they own businesses or like?
Okay, so basically, to recap, in this scenario, like you see all these people,
Right.
like there's way too many people. These really rich people, they can basically do whatever they want, whatever inconvenience they can just.
So the guy Robert threw the party at the dead guy's apartment.
What do you
The
mean?
detective the detective threw the party at the dead guy's apartment, right?
No, not the detective. It was
Oh,
Cheryl.
okay. Oh, and he threw the party with the girls before he died. Okay.
No. Cheryl threw the party. So this party, it's like not supposed to be happening because there's supposed to be furniture. This guy Charles, superintendent, that's like in charge of all these like women that are like supposed to be furniture. They're supposed to stay in their rooms and like do whatever they, I guess, just be there.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Just
like
live.
they have no power at all. Like all
Right.
they should just be grateful that they're even there because everybody else, they're treated as trash. They have to eat Soylent. They're drinking, they're eating, they're doing all the things that only rich people can do. But then they're referred to as furniture, so that means that they can be like replaced at any moment.
Okay. So like, what impression am I supposed to get off of this video?
What makes it clear that there is like a difference between men and women in this?
Okay,
time
the
period?
I can just tell you the difference. Yeah, I think the main thing is they just get treated differently. Like they're talked to almost in a misogynistic way.
Yeah, that's true.
Furniture.
Being called furniture can be degrading and objectifying.
Furniture.
Women don't have many roles, it seems like, in this depiction, besides being furniture and being objects for men. On top of that, men are the ones doing the investigating. Most of the screen time, it seems like they're the more important characters. Women aren't
That's
looked
true.
at that much. And the only time that they are looked at is when they have a lower role, like being called furniture. And the only time that men are looked at is when they're, oh, he's a detective, or
Let me show you this clip right here. It kind of like supports what you say.
21.
Charles said you were 24.
That makes us both liars.
I sleep late in the morning. I like a big breakfast and no lunch. I'll organize the menu for dinner. 3 or 4 times a week, I have guests. Sometimes it's business, and then we have to be alone. Sometimes it's fun, and then we like a girl who's fun. Are you fun?
So this guy is like the new guy that's moving in after Simonson, the guy that just got killed.
an exchange of property.
Basically, yeah. It's pretty messed up how they're treating women in this way. Like they're just like using them as objects of like convenience. They have no say.
Right, he's just being misogynistic. Big word. It's spelled MISOGYN. That's how it's spelled.
The climax is in the 11th scene. While Thorne was out doing his investigations, his roommate Sol was researching history and discovered that Soylent is in fact people.
He learned these facts, and they shook his sanity. The corporation knew he was not reliable anymore. They feared he might talk, and so he was eliminated.
And why are they doing this?
Because it's easier. I think expedient is the word. What we need is the proof of what they are doing before we bring it to the Council of Nations.
Good God.
What God, Mr. Lord? Where will we find him?
Instead of telling Thorne, he decides to end his life at a suicide assistance facility in order to turn himself into a wafer. The detective finds out that this is happening, that he's killing himself, and he goes out and tries to like stop him, but it's too late. And he's telling him to like find evidence and like follow his body after he dies.
Prove it.
So at this point, they're shipping out his body, like putting him into like these dump trucks. And he sneaks into the facility that they're bringing the bodies to. After Thorne follows the body of his now deceased roommate's soul, he discovers that instead of disposing the body, they transform him into a wafer. Thorne, now horrified at this revelation, fights his way out of the facility and proclaims in the streets that Soylent Green is in fact people.
You gotta tell him. You gotta tell him.
Promise, Tiger. I promise. I'll tell the exchange.
You tell everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell him. Soylent Green is people. We gotta stop him somehow.
In the second section, basically, we're dealing with the ending. And the end, it's like a major spoiler, but I highly doubt that anybody's gonna watch this movie. So.
All right, I'm ready. Let's go. Just give me a rundown what I'm supposed to gather from this.
Okay, so in this section, it's the end of the movie. It's the last few scenes. Solomon Roth, the roommate of the detective, goes out to like a library and asks like the librarian to like help him out on like why the history of Soylent, and the librarian says that all history points to like basically Soylent made out of like human, and he freaks out, and instead of like helping out his friend the detective, he kills himself.
So the Soylent that they eat is made out of human.
Yeah, and like anybody that speaks out against it just gets killed because it's an inconvenience.
But the police officer involved refuses to close the case.
Oh,
Perhaps because he went to church yesterday.
what does that mean?
It was Simonson's church. The cop spoke 20 minutes with the priest.
So?
Was same priest who heard Simonson's confession.
I don't want to hear any more about it. I can't hear any more about it. Just do what you have to do.
And he killed himself because why?
Because he can't really do anything about it. He doesn't have any proof. They need evidence, and there's like currently no evidence, and anybody that does have evidence gets killed. These people that are in power are maintaining their power by effectively just murdering everyone that gets in their way. What do you think of all that? What do you think?
The government are using cheap forms, supplying their population. Inhumane. Nobody's educated on the real conflict about what is going on.
Yeah, like they're hiding the truth to people in order to like get their way.
To make sure everything runs smoothly. It seems like the government doesn't really have a plan for what's going to go on in their future. All they care about is keeping them in check for now and making the sacrifices that they think are necessary but are inhumane.
The word that lady said, expedient, pretty much summed it up pretty well. Expedient is characterized by concern, achieving a particular end in a given circumstance. So basically, like getting what you want, but it's in your own self-interest. So it's not particularly like a moral thing. It could be done immorally. It's a very selfish thing.
Yeah, the government seems very selfish and
self-interested.
Yeah, they're not giving the people control. They're not giving the people any rights. Keeping them locked up like rats.
They actually have these things called scoops. I briefly showed in the beginning. So these scoops actually, like, they use these when there's way too many people out in the street. They just scoop them up into garbage containers.
And they recycle the humans?
Well, we don't know what happens to them. They might be doing that.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's how expedient they are.
How expedient they are.
Very expedient. Very expedient.
Expedient.
Very expedient, yeah. But I think that's good enough for like the interview.
So?
Yeah, I think that's good enough.